Thank you for the opportunity to be of service, and thank you for the opportunity for the Fifth Dimension Group to share a story with a family beyond my wildest dreams. Sometimes at meetings, I like to say to the group, "Hi, my name is Bill. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, family." For me, I really mean that. This fellowship knows no bounds. I have friends from Florida to California to Texas to Ohio to Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And what it reminds me that with this program and this fellowship, you don't have to be alone anymore. And we are alone by our own choosing. One of the ways that differentiates Alcoholics Anonymous for me from, let's say, going to a therapist or other mental health services, when I went to a therapist for my mental disorder, I felt like a weirdo and a nut. And I couldn't fit in. I couldn't have a connection with other people. When I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, I felt like I belonged. I felt like I was in a full bag of nuts. That sort of human connection, that sort of human touch is what has endeared me to Alcoholics Anonymous. So going back to the beginning, I'm originally from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is known for taverns and churches. And wouldn't appreciate until I had the experience is how powerful alcohol has the effect on all of us. I grew up in a family, both sides of the family had lots of alcoholics. One side of the family was the rich gentry drunk, party hard, play hard, work hard. And the other was trailer trash drunk, the older sister taking care of the kids because mom and dad are drunk. I thought for sure I would be well protected based on the seeing how what alcohol did to other people. What I didn't know as an 8-year-old, when I'm looking at my aunt as she turns into a witch after she drinks too much, that she has an obsession of the mind, an allergy of the body. I could not comprehend that. And that being said, before I forget, I thank Fifth Dimension for having caption text. As someone who is hearing impaired and autistic, I appreciate the extra efforts that accessibility so we can hear the message. Because when we are members of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's an invitation to see if we belong, to see if we identify. And making it more accessible is important. When you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, it doesn't necessarily make you alcoholic. It's an opportunity for you to learn what makes somebody alcoholic and see if that applies to you. As time would progress, I had this social isolation where I didn't feel like I belonged in my mom's family. I didn't feel like I belonged in my dad's family. I hated the grade that I was in, but I loved the grade that was ahead of me. I loved the grade that was younger than me. I did not want to be present. Long story short. Before I touched alcohol, I used people and food to fill that God-sized hole, to fill that void in my life. Middle school, I was harassed, and high school, I thought about committing suicide. And the reason why I mentioned this is avoidance is a part of our story. Our inability to address mental health issues and just try to shove them down, shove them down, shove them down is a pattern for all of us. Because I couldn't accept my identity. I couldn't accept the real me. As time would have it, I would become a DARE role model junior year of high school. And then 2 years after that, I would get fully into alcohol, fully into drinking. And I remember my first drink. I was 19 years old. I had this cocksureness of, I'm going to play all the drinking games on campus and not drink. I'm going to drink energy drinks instead to be able to avoid alcohol. Newsflash, it didn't work because the fraternity houses, they had Rubbermaid cup size, box size of amounts of alcohol. And at the time, I didn't know that. I thought it was just fruit punch. And the Christmas party, they're like $5, all you can drink. So they're like, we got the smart one to drink. We did it. We did it. We did it. The trouble for me is that first time I drank, it was straight Everclear. And I felt like I had arrived. I felt like I was somebody, as Bill W. talks about in Bill's story. I felt like I could be this next great senator, this next great lawyer. This rush for success was on. And the trouble for me is like alcohol would become a bigger and bigger part of my life. What was once a week would turn into multiple times a week, would turn into multiple times a month, would turn into me lying to my parents that I needed time for schoolwork. In reality, I wanted to give myself another day to drink. This also kind of set the stage for two very different human beings, Bill during the week and Bill on the weekends. Before I even cracked open the big book, I legitimately thought I was two people. I thought I was sober Bill and drunk Bill. Sober Bill was good with professors, good with administrators, upstanding moral human being. On the weekends, I would drink and I would warm up with malt beverage and Four Loko and drink with the townies so I could have a few extra hours to drink before I'd hang out with my friends. I thought I was popular. I thought it was cool when I drank. I thought they were excited to see me. So I called myself Party Boy Bill when I drank. Obviously, I was more in delusion than reality. And what would end up occurring further is I would get underage tickets. I would fall face forward into wood floors and keep on dancing because I'm in a blackout. I don't feel any pain. The standards of behavior would lower and lower and lower to the point where I was given a fine and administrators like, I don't want to do this to you, Bill. This is not right. And I'm like, just get it over with because it was a momentary inconvenience. So senior year of college, get $150 from my uncle. Congratulations on graduating. I blow it all on booze in 4 hours. I get to a point where my head goes, Bill, maybe you can't keep doing this anymore. Maybe this is a bad idea. But my pride and ego took over 10 minutes later. You don't want your parents to see you in the ER because then they would know you have a problem with alcohol. Then they would know that you are spiritually sick. The trouble is the pride and ego side won. And no surprise, alcoholics attract other alcoholics. So after I graduated, I tried law school and my roommate was another alcoholic. When I'm spiritually sick, I am one of the most petty human beings on earth. I am so petty that someone could say, Bill, you have a billiard stick up your butt, loosen up. I was the kind of person that I would drink at someone else's girlfriend, even though I'm single and gay. I would look for any reason to get messed up. So we get drunk to forget my roommate's evil girlfriend, or so we thought. And in that bender, end up going to 7 liquor stores in one night. Because I thought, if we only see one pint or one handle per store, they can't see me as a drunk. Little did I know, only alcoholics think like that. Only alcoholics worries what it looks like. I was worried what it looks like because I was deathly afraid of how you would see me. I was deathly afraid of how low you would see me seeing myself. So I had to put on this facade of having my shit together. I had to put on this facade of having physical fitness when I was fat. I had to put on a facade that I was mentally well when I had multiple mental illnesses at the time. That effort to put on a facade is exhausting. And this is why I relate to the late John Candy and Chris Farley, who drank and drugged themselves to death because, hey, when I'd make a joke, I'd make fun of myself. If it made you laugh, that would make me happy, even though if it lowered my standards, even though it denigrated me. And that's how alcoholism was. By the time I was in law school, we had that bender. We go to AA. I go to an AA meeting, and this AA meeting is a bunch of old white guys with bib overalls who I can't relate to. They're not charming and entertaining, and they're not people that I want to be around. And therefore, I block it out. Therefore, I say to myself, I don't fit in. I don't belong. And I would have a 3-year odyssey of 1, 2, 3 and out, 1, 2, 3 and out. You know the AA waltz that some of you may be familiar with. So fast forward, I thought I could do law school, but alcohol and other ideas on the subject. Geographics are a big part of my story. I moved from Lansing, Michigan to Oak Park, Illinois, to Chicago, and 3 or 4 other neighborhoods in the process within Chicago, because it was always someone else's fault. It was the location fault. It was not my fault. I didn't realize that I always took me with me. What I had to come to the realization after 3 years, nobody in an AA meeting qualified me. And what I mean by qualifying is helping us see what makes us alcoholic. And our book talks about that. If, when you honestly want to, you finally cannot quit entirely. Or if when drinking, you have little control of the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. Nobody sat me down for the first 3 years. So I inevitably failed for the first 3 years of trying to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Our central duty in Alcoholics Anonymous to the newcomer is helping them see if they belong in Alcoholics Anonymous. Help guiding them, showing them the information from the text to see if they belong. Because if they believe they belong, if they believe they've hit step 1, they're more likely to do the rest of the work. So in 2014, I ended up breaking a knife fight in a bender. You can't tell from the screen, but I'm the least likely person to start a knife fight. But if you give me enough alcohol, I'll think I can. The scariest part about that was I remember my roommate saying, "Don't be like white boys and call the cops. We got this." My roommate and I are white, for the record. After I come to, I realized if this is my future with drinking, I'm screwed. And so I finally get a sponsor. A sponsor spends 45 minutes explaining to me what it means to be alcoholic, the obsession, the allergy, and spiritual malady. Since my host here is from good old Massachusetts, let me give an example that might be relevant to him. Pretend if you are allergic to lobster, and all of a sudden you're being sent to Massachusetts General Hospital because you ate too much lobster. You're like, I'm through with the lobster game. I know better now. A week later, you're like, oh crap, I got to go to the grocery store, get more lobster. And it's that short memory. It's that obsession that brings us back. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous can treat. Then we have the allergy, the abnormal reaction to alcohol. That's what the medical doctors can treat. Then we have the spiritual malady, that internal condition that we think alcohol treats, because we come to realize if we are real alcoholics, the problem is sobriety. How the hell do I figure out how to live sober? How the hell do I figure out how to stay in that fit spiritual condition? How do I figure out how to live? And what ended up happening is I didn't stay sober first when I knew I was alcoholic. I didn't realize it was an internal condition. I had to relapse 2 more times. And after the second to last relapse, I ended up in sober living. And let me correct myself. I don't consider those relapses. I consider it resuming. Relapses are one of the most overused words in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's overused because it almost comes off as an excuse. Because relapse implies I did some work. If I took a week break from drinking, I didn't relapse, I resumed. And with that in mind, I go to sober living. Second week I'm there, I drink. 3 days in a row, a bender, because I want to punish my house manager. In that bender, I was calling my sponsor, and he's like, Phil, call me when you're done. And once I was done, I did call him. And I went through the steps quickly. Within the first 3 months, I went through all 12 steps. I started sponsoring other men at 4 months sober. And one of the key things I learned is there's an aspect of identity. If you hurt, threaten, or interfere with who I think I am going to fight. And I'll get the example I can give you is at age 30, I was laid off on my job on my actual birthday. The first stage character to feel the pain is a worker. A worker needs a job to exist. Next stage character to feel the pain is a man. A man feels less than a man if they don't have a job. Then there's a victim card. You got screwed over again. And then there's Rambo. He doesn't know who he messed with. I'm going to get that prick. That's what we see in our inventory. We get to see how those thoughts plague us, how those resentments are poisonous, how that constant refeeling causes us to drink. And then with that information in step 5, I can then see my character defects. Then I'm at a crossroads. Am I willing to give them up? Am I willing to change? And after that, I make amends. I rebuild my relationships. One amends I can give for our purposes is I made amends to my sister. And I initially told my sponsor, she needs to do these 6 things before I make amends. And my sponsor's like, no, you got to clear your side of the street. So I did. And 2 years later, she finally wants to come to Chicago to see me. She lives in Minnesota. And that's the relief that Alcoholics Anonymous can give us all. And then with 10 and 11, disciplines of prayer, meditation, and inventory. When I'm spiritually sick, I'm a resentment machine. I'll find something to get pissed off at Nick about within an hour, even if he doesn't know it. And I got to be aware of that. I got to work on that. And that's what I get to do in step 10. At the end of the day, what Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me is none of this is about me anymore, but I get a benefit. This is no longer my life, but I get to participate. I visit work. I live in AA. The moment I think I got it, life reminds me I don't. And in later sobriety, I actively have to seek out insight from others and God, because I know a lot of people who have relapsed after 3 or 4 years. However, if I actually seek out insight from others, pray and meditate and help others, not only can I stay sober, but I can continue to grow and know a love beyond my wildest dreams. Thank you.